Today marks the day when all the cars or liveries for the 2025 season are being unveiled. We'll go through all of them and also chat about other Formula One related topics. Let's start with Max Verstappen confirming he had been in contact with Aston Martin. Yes, there was communication, but not in the way it had been speculated. Verstappen mentioned that the conversation was related to a GT3 project for this year, where he's even starting his own team. He didn't give much more detail, only confirming that the contact was about that, and there was no mention of Formula One at all. And that's where the topic ends. Christian Horner humorously commented, "Seriously, guys, you and the press need to write something during the off-season. I understand, but $1 billion for a driver is a bit unrealistic." So Horner made a joke about the situation, and he added that Verstappen is very happy at Red Bull, which didn't seem to be the case last year, right? But now, they probably have everything sorted out. So, as it stands, Max Verstappen will stay at Red Bull and isn't likely to move to Aston Martin anytime soon. However, if there has already been initial contact regarding GT3, it doesn't rule out the possibility that Verstappen and Alonso might still have talks with Aston Martin about a WEC project. This idea had been floating around F1 for a while, and it seems much more feasible now. Of course, if Red Bull underperforms this year, there's a chance Verstappen might change teams next season, something we've discussed multiple times here on the channel. But this WEC idea is realistic. Verstappen is a big fan of other racing series, including WEC, and Alonso has been there, winning Le Mans. Both respect each other and often compliment one another, so it could be a great option, and I'd definitely watch. Alonso and Verstappen in WEC sounds exciting. What are your thoughts on this? Now, let's talk about Mercedes. George Russell mentioned that, yes, McLaren is the favorite for the 2025 title, but Mercedes has been working hard behind the scenes. From what he's seen, and particularly how the 2025 car has been performing in the simulator, he believes they've made a significant performance leap and most likely fixed the major issues the car had last year. The thing is, I'm sure some of you will mention in the comments that Mercedes said last year's zero-pod car would be a second faster, and so on, but a simulator doesn't always tell the full story. Many teams have faced simulator issues over the years under these regulations. So while Russell says the car feels good in the simulator, it doesn't necessarily guarantee performance. On the flip side, it does give a small hope that Mercedes might be one of the teams fighting at the front. The more competition, the better, right? Let's hope Russell is right. There's also a lot of focus on Mercedes due to Antonelli, so we'll be keeping a close eye on the team in 2025. Now, let's move on to some interesting news that sheds light on Liberty Media's vision, something I've discussed with you for over a year now, having specific rules for certain races. Well, the Monaco Grand Prix will have more than one mandatory pit stop starting in 2025. This decision was made at the last meeting, which I think took place today, February 18th. In this meeting, the Formula One Council, along with the teams, decided that the Monaco Grand Prix needs multiple pit stops to add more excitement. So, if you combine this with Pirelli's introduction of the C6 tire compound, which will be used exclusively for street circuits where tire wear is lower, it's likely that Monaco will be a bit more thrilling. However, Monaco is still difficult to overtake on, so this rule is specific to that race. I had already expected something like this and had even speculated with you about it. If Formula One wants to stay relevant, especially to younger audiences, it will need to introduce new ideas and approaches. This includes different rules for specific tracks to keep them engaging for younger fans. Of course, us old-timers will continue enjoying the races in the classic way, but F1 is actively trying to attract younger viewers, and this also includes changing things like the weekend format with sprint races, for instance. So, what do you think about this new rule for Monaco? Should there be at least 2 pit stops? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's talk about the launch event. I believe this will be an annual event. From what I saw right after the event, it seems to have been a success. The drivers barely said anything, just exchanged a few words about how excited they were for the season and how the cars looked great. Nothing groundbreaking. They had very little time on stage. And there were some musical performances as well. Each team showed a video or gave a brief presentation of their car. Among the cars that are almost identical to last year's, which is totally normal, there were a few nice surprises in the liveries. For example, the white car from Visa Cash App and the Red Bull from 2021 that Verstappen drove, now with a new white version. One cool thing to mention is that the grid looks more colorful now. Few teams stuck with black liveries from last year, so we now have a more vibrant grid. Perhaps the FIA gave everyone a little nudge saying, "Come on, let's paint these cars or it won't work." Williams had a slight change in tone compared to last year, while Red Bull's car is basically the same. Haas made a slight change, mainly in the white parts of the car. Mercedes is similar to last year. McLaren and Aston Martin made minor adjustments. But overall, the liveries are very much the same, except for the Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, who presented a bolder and more eye-catching livery. Overall, the event was good. The comedian host made a few good jokes, so it wasn't boring. It could have been a bit more dynamic, especially for the drivers. If I'm not mistaken, Max Verstappen and Liam Lawson didn't speak or give interviews. From what I know, there wasn't a broadcast cut while they were on stage, and they didn't give interviews. But the cars are being shown now. I want to know which car you thought was the most beautiful, the most interesting, or the one you liked the most. Also, if you watched the event, let me know your thoughts on the presentation. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell to stay updated, and follow Pole Position News for all the latest.